Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
It's The In Show, Australia's only show dedicated to innovation from Adelaide, Australia, and across the globe.
It's David Grice and Troy Simcock. It's podcast time, and being a Monday means that we've got some news for you. Now, I've got to tell you, David, we thought we heard some pretty weird stuff in the first year of The In Show, but Claire has got more extraordinary stories for us.
Oh, man, I just never ceases to amaze me where all of these stories come from. And, you know, what an amazing year last year. Like, incredible stories. And I still think by far the one that sticks out the most for me is the robot that smells your feet.
That is ridiculous. I mean, I still don't. I mean, you'd have to have a serious problem to want to buy one of those robots, wouldn't you?
No.
Or maybe you buy one for your partner.
If there's any way of giving someone a hint, that's it.
If I see a robot dog sort of snapping around my heels, I'll know you're trying to tell me something.
Yes, well, especially, you know, when you wear those special, you know, boaty shoes and stuff like that.
Okay, I'll try not to wear them anymore. All right, now here's Claire with more in news, including a story about what's predicted for AI this year, which looks absolutely remarkable. Happy New Year, Claire. What else you got for us?
Thank you, David and Troy. It feels good to be back. This week, I'll be talking about innovations and technological breakthroughs we can look forward to in 2018. Researchers in San Francisco have created the first ever artificial kidney, which can be implanted into patients who need kidney dialysis. Approximately 2 million people around the world need their blood cleaned on a weekly basis just to stay alive. The treatment is time-consuming and frustrating for patients because they have to attend regular appointments. It's been 20 years in the making, but now Kidney Project will be starting clinical trials to help those living with kidney failure. The team from the University of California have developed a box that's about the size of a bar of soap and is fitted with silicone filters. It also contains live kidney cells grown in a bioreactor. In just one surgery, the box can be connected to a patient's bladder and circulatory system. After that, the artificial organ can keep the blood clean 24 hours a day. This means patients don't have to be constantly monitored when they're undergoing dialysis treatment, and it means they can move around while their blood is being cleaned. This artificial organ is also reducing the number of donated kidneys that are needed. Let's hope the clinical trials are a success. This might be the year of vertical farming. What's that, you ask? Well, vertical farming is when medicine or fresh fruit and vegetables are grown on a vertical wall indoors. There are quite a few benefits to this method of growing produce, which is why some think it will become more popular over the next year. These benefits include less water wastage, more produce, and a reduction in fossil fuels because large machines aren't needed to transport crops. It also means that farmers don't have to rely on good weather or worry about pests. Plus, vertical farms can be built in abandoned buildings in populated areas, making it easier for customers to buy the produce. A company in San Francisco called Plenty recently began vertical farming, and they've seen great results. They use less water than a traditional farm, and they don't use fertilisers or pesticides because there isn't really any need to. So who knows, maybe vertical farming of fresh produce and medicine will become a common practice. Artificial intelligence, aka AI, is set to take its next evolutionary steps. This year, it will continue to blur the lines between what is real and what is science fiction. The main development we could see is the rise of machine-based learning AI technology, which is available to the consumer. Machine-based learning is the phrase used to describe how some AIs teach themselves how to perform human-like actions or thought patterns without any assistance. At the moment, this technology is mostly being used and improved in the cloud. A good example of this is Apple's facial recognition technology. But this year, machine learning AI could become a part of our mobile phones, which means it could work faster and provide users with a better personalised experience. This also means our data would be stored on our phones rather than in the cloud. But that doesn't necessarily mean better privacy, as businesses are also thinking of capitalising on this. So one day you could walk into a store which can access your phone's data to find out who you are and what your spending habits are in order to personalise your experience. This could either be a great development or a recipe for disaster. Only time will tell. And that's what's in news this week.
Thanks, Claire. Well, David, it's really going to be an exciting year, as we've said, not just for the in-show, but for artificial intelligence. This thing it feels like it's blowing up exponentially.
Look, to me, it's actually a little scary as well. Like there's some positive and negatives around this. You know, you talk about supermarkets and shopping centres being able to predict what your buying behaviours are, and you know, I've heard of AI being used where your Facebook and Twitter feeds are scoured and your shopping habits on eBay are scoured, and therefore when you walk towards a supermarket or a shop that sells the items that you've purchased before on eBay, it sends you messages to tell you that, you know, you should go into the store that you're just walking past.
Wow.
It almost feels invasive, but it's sort of kind of cool at the same time for me.
And what's the legality around that? I think those questions keep coming up, don't they? When you see people feeling as if their space is being invaded by getting unsolicited text messages. You know, you see a lot of that sort of stuff online when, you know, a company tries to communicate with its customers in that way about something that they haven't asked to receive.
Yeah, and I think there's also, you know, stuff around how AI is actually tracking movement. So when it comes to, you know, I know from what I understand that Westfield shopping centres here in South Australia and in fact nationally are able to track where people are moving through the stores or through the mall, just so that they can find out, you know, where there might be bottlenecks in terms of congestion of people, if there's a multitude of people there, or, you know, whether you've spent 10 minutes standing in front of a cafe or whatever it is. So there is a certain amount of invasiveness there, I think.
It's going to be really interesting to see what 2018 holds. For more innovation news, you can check out the inshow.online and subscribe to the InShow podcast on iTunes. Rate us 5 stars if you like what you're hearing, and we're on Facebook and Twitter as well. Now, tomorrow, given that it's a new year, we've decided to do something different. And David, what we'll be doing is you'll be on the receiving end, so to speak, and I'll be interviewing you.
Oh, dear.
Yep. It had to happen one time, at least.
Well,
and I thought, well, you know, straight out of the blocks in 2018, it's about time we found out more about you. I've known you for 5 years, but I get the feeling there's some stuff you haven't told me.
Well, there generally is, probably. I mean, you found out the other week that, you know, I'd been in a movie.
Yeah, now that is ridiculous. What's that called again?
He keeps asking. He just loves me to say it, I think. But, you know, Heaven's Burning, you know, and Russell Crowe was my co-star.
You never even met Russell Crowe, from
No.
what I can remember.
But he was in the movie.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we're going to find out. Well, we might talk about that. We might not. But I've got some pretty burning questions that I want to ask you tomorrow on the InShow podcast. So get yourself ready.
Looking forward to it.
The In-Show News. Subscribe to the In-Show podcast on iTunes. A Dave and the Beanstalk production.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.